and agencies involved in his numerous legal cases. For most of the first half of 2023, a larger share of Trump's posts were dedicated to his legal issues than his presidential campaign. A Black woman hired by a northern Utah school district to investigate racial harassment complaints the year after a 10-year-old Black student died by suicide says that she too experienced discrimination from district officials. Jocelyn Thomas alleges in a federal lawsuit that district staff treated her as if she were stupid, accused her of having a substandard work ethic, and denied her training and mentorship opportunities that were offered to her white colleagues. Thomas was part of a wave of new hires in 2022 after the U.S. Department of Justice ordered the district in a settlement agreement to create an office tasked with investigating and addressing reports of racial harassment. The order stemmed from a 2021 federal investigation which uncovered widespread racial harassment of Black and Asian American students in the district just north of Salt Lake City, including hundreds of documented uses of the N-word and other derogatory epithets over a 5-year period. Rep. Pat Ryan is launching a congressional battle against the NFL and NBC for requiring fans to download the streaming app Peacock in order to watch the Kansas City Chiefs Miami Dolphins wildcard playoff game this weekend. In a letter, Ryan, who is a New York Democrat now serving his first full term in office, blasted the decision for forcing fans to choose between signing up for yet another expensive streaming service or missing out on a major playoff game. That's a direct quote. Now, Black people accounted for nearly 13% of traffic stops in California in 2022, far above their 5% share of the state's population, according to a report released Wednesday under a law designed to address racial profiling of motorists and pedestrians by police. The annual report, compiled by California's Racial and Identity Profiling Advisory Board, for the first time included data from all law enforcement agencies in the state. All right, we're in hour number 2. Been looking forward to this. Stephen A. Smith has completely unloaded on Jason Whitlock. We're gonna talk about some of the things he said and whether he should or shouldn't have said them. And we're gonna talk about why we all can't stand Jason Whitlock. It's pretty universal. Like, none of us like him. And we're gonna talk about why. And we're also going to talk about, gonna play some audio for you of a white woman saying that Black people, we choose long names and people can't understand these names. Why do we do this? Why do we do this to our children? I got some audio for you of her saying it herself. She is what they call a white Karen. And Keith Lee, the food critic, the now nationally known food critic, apparently had to leave San Francisco early because he experienced food poisoning, and he says there just weren't enough good places in San Francisco for him to stay long enough to eat. So we have a Bay Area person here. He is Dr. Sean Fletcher. He's gonna weigh in on that story. And also, if we have time, we'll talk about the situation in Alabama with them college coach of all time, probably the best college coach of all time, Nick Saban, college football coach, and now hiring the best up and coming coach in the nation in college football. I listen, it drives me bonkers that Alabama keeps getting these coaches. Just because it's in Alabama. Nothing against the actual players or the actual organization of the team, but the fact that state of all states has gotten to rule college football for all this time, it just bothers me. But anyway, we're gonna get into all these things. It's the Friday group chat, hour 2, when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
On your period, sudden gushes happen without warning. But now you can say goodbye to stand-up gush fears. Thanks to Always Ultra Thins with rapid dry technology. It absorbs gushes 2 times faster than the leading store brand and gives you up to 100% leak-free protection. Hello, clean and comfortable with Always Fear No Gush.
Granddad, what's good?
Hey there, got us a quarter pounder with cheese and McNuggets.
Wow, haven't had our special McDonald's order in a minute.
Heard your little tic-tac-toe dance didn't get no likes.
Oh man, is Mom telling everybody?
You know she is.
There's a deal for every favorite grandson at McDonald's. Right now, get one favorite like a quarter pounder with cheese or 10-piece chicken McNuggets and get another for just $1. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, stand by. And we're back on the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. It is the second hour of the Friday group chat. Danny Griffin, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker, and Sean Fletcher, Dr. Sean Fletcher of San Jose State University. Let's get right into this. Stephen A. Smith, Jason Whitlock beef. So Jason Whitlock, right? This is a dude who used to be on ESPN, and then he was on Fox Sports, and then he was on a bunch of different places. Kept going down and down and down. And now he's reached the proverbial bottom, being on Blaze TV. Blaze TV. It's a conservative outlet, and it's owned by Glenn Beck, who is a super conservative, horrible person. And now, so the fact that Jason Whitlock is even on that platform, all right, he's on a platform where, as Stephen A. Smith says, and the thing that resonated with me most about what Stephen A. Smith said, not that Jason Whitlock is a liar, which I believe, and not that he pounced on opportunities to talk about Stephen A. Smith, which I believe, but that he puts himself in spaces where with white people who do not like Black people. He puts himself in spaces with white people who say, so he can say, look, I'm one of the good ones. I'm talking about Black people. I'm talking about Black people just like you do. And I want to start, Danny, we can start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on what Stephen A. Smith had to say? And we can talk about whether or not he should have said it also. I mean, you can start wherever you want to start at.
I mean, of course there's a validity to that, but I mean, now we have this culture right now that's currently going on. We've been talking about this for a couple of months, how the culture is shifting to whether it be snitching, dry snitching, or saying too much, however you want to categorize privy conversation, privy situations. I mean, people would live and die back in the day and not know what happened at somebody's job, and you live in the same house with them for 40 years. I mean, today it's just too much. I watched it. I watched the interview yesterday, and I watched some of Whitlock, and obviously, I know a few people at the station and whatever, and I'm thinking to myself, like, that's too much information. I don't want to know that executive producer's name. I don't care about the producer or none of those people down there. You giving them too much. So, they both was doing too much to me. It takes two to tango. Me personally, if I was in that situation, but we don't know how much pressure Stephen A is facing to respond, because clicks go up, viewership goes up, chaos sells. So I can't really say. He said he won't do it again and mention him again. But I don't know what's behind it. Like I said, a lot of producers and sometimes people look for clickbait and for viewership. So I don't know. Me personally, I didn't like it. Right now, the hottest stories in our culture in the country are Black men throwing each other under the bus. It's the topic of discussion. Meanwhile, we have cargo ships and our fleet is being attacked in the Red Sea. And we got all kind of other issues going on. And we're talking about Cat Williams. We're talking about Jason Whitlock and Stephen A. Smith, who obviously wasn't a good basketball player, probably. I'm sure if he was, you would have some recollection of him playing. It's obvious there's some truth to this stuff, but you don't use your platform to call people names like that when you have that type of cachet and background from a journalistic standpoint. And you have a certain opulence, a certain level. It's just so many things that young people and people that are trying to mimic him and be mentored by him vicariously, and just being a man, just being an African American man, representing our ancestors properly. I was disgusted, man. I'm disgusted at Jason Whitlock, and I'm disgusted at Stephen A. Smith. And me personally, I don't like stuff like that. I grew up in the street with stuff like that, and I don't want to hear it on TV or on a professional standpoint. That's just me. I can't stand it with all my heart. None of that stuff.
Danny, both sides do. But Dr. Fletcher, what's up? What are your thoughts?
2024 is off to a hot start, right? We got Cat Williams taking aim at comedians. We got journalists going after journalists. I'm waiting on the Tim Cook diss tape to come out on Bill Gates and all the others. Good Lord.
You ain't gonna get that.
When in all seriousness, with this situation, it's sad from all different angles. What's sad is, to me, is I'm old enough to remember when Jason Whitlock wasn't this way. I'm old enough to remember when Jason Whitlock did not steer his content to the lowest common denominator, when he didn't appear on Tucker Carlson and called the murder of Tyree Nichols a product of a young Black man being supervised by a single Black mother. When he didn't call LeBron James basically insulated from racism, and that Black folks somehow, because of our skin color, have to paint ourselves as victims in situations. And the laundry list of things that he has said to take aim at seemingly Black people and Black culture, all right? Fast forward to now, what Stephen A. said, and many of his contemporaries who co-signed, I mean reputable, it wasn't just Jamel Hill, it was a laundry list of reputable Black, go to the National Association of Black Journalists list, and just about all of them came in and said and co-signed what Stephen A. Smith said about Jason Whitlock, and how he has, in front of the scenes and behind the scenes, taken aim at Black culture and continue to marginalize us and ostracize and use our situations that have played out in the masses to ultimately tear us down. So every single thing that Stephen A. Smith said was factual, all right? Much of it was opinion, but a lot of it was factual. He did these things. Now, again, depending on if you agree with what he was saying, that's up to you, all right? I tend to disagree with taking aim at many of the different scenarios that have been playing out in the national and international media where the Black community and Black figures have been gunned down and targeted, and you decide to use that as a way to get on your bully pulpit and take aim at how the Black culture and single motherhood and how Black men are being raised. That's your angle as a Black journalist? And you go on these conservative outlets to do that and then get further and further right-wing, you lost your way many, many years ago, Jason Whitlock. And the latest was just two journalists going at each other, high-profile figures going at each other when he took aim at Stephen A.'s book that just came out, basically calling it all lies, right? And that was the, I guess, final straw. But the final straw for me was a long time ago with Jason Whitlock. Now, how he chose to go about undressing Jason Whitlock, no, I'll never condone that. All right. The silly names being called, I'll never condone that. I don't care what color you are. I'll never condone that. However, the way that Jason Whitlock has gone about his business over the last couple of decades needed to be addressed. All right. How it was addressed, I disagree with. But it needed to be addressed, and it'll continue to be addressed because he is a danger to the Black community with the way that he uses his voice as a wolf in sheep's clothing, going on these largely white conservative supremacist networks and being, as we mentioned in the last segment, one of the good ones. You one of the good ones. To then come in and say the quiet part out loud, but you got clout because you one of them. So if one of them can say that, of course, that gives credibility to all of the heinous vitriol that we continue to spew across these right-wing racist networks. Jason Whitlock is one of the most dangerous among us because of the profile that he has and the rhetoric that he's willing to spew. So I totally agree with everything Stephen A. Smith said, just not how he said it.
So when you say you don't agree with how he said it, are you talking specifically about the name calling, just the fat bastard and the
yeah?
Is that the only part you're talking about?
Yeah, I disagree with the name calling. I disagree with even how he framed it. So there was a little bit of, and Stephen A. is going to be Stephen A., right? There's going to be some self-aggrandizing. There's going to be, some hype man. He's going, while he's waving his hand and his finger, he's going to pat himself on the back in the process, right? So sifting through all of that, I got what he said. All right, I got what it wasn't lost on me. But getting to all of the meat of it, Stephen A. is gonna lose me sometimes in translation, just with the way that he presents.
Yeah. So, and that's what I'm saying, and this is why I disagree with you, Danny, because I cannot agree more than with what Dr. Fletcher just said, that Jason Whitlock is dangerous to Black people.
He is, but I don't have to say it, right? You could say it. I don't have to say it. We know he is, but he is still Black. He's still Black, though, right?
He's Black, but he's doing the opposite of what you're saying to do. Not only is he not willing to go after Black people, he'll go after Black people, and not just a person, but all of us. And so
I understand. Stephen A. Smith is not qualified. He's not qualified to call out him on some journalistic stuff. Like Dr. Fletcher said, we need somebody that's qualified to call him out based on him demeaning the Black community, single mothers, and all that other stuff. Just like how people got mad at Steve Harvey when he went to go talk to Trump. We got to have the right people talk at the right time, right? Stephen A. Smith don't represent me.
That's two different things.
Stephen A. Smith don't represent me.
That's two different things. Steve Harvey went to have a private meeting with Trump and then got photographed with him, and we didn't know the context. Stephen A. Smith went and tore this dude up for things that we all know he's doing. And so there's a whole different thing. Just because somebody's black, I mean, you give them a pass for everything. And so now
but do you think it was more personal? Like, did that help us? Did that bring more light to what he was saying? Because Stephen A. Smith really didn't go in. Dr. Fletcher went more in detail on what he said to about the black community than Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith was talking about the production offices.
Dr. Fletcher is more articulate than Stephen A. Smith. Dr. Fletcher can
But that's what I'm saying. So Stephen A. Smith should be, that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't want to dig too deep into it, because that was a personal beef. Two journalists that are both soft, right? And that probably can't fight. None of that. They're not street dudes. All I'm saying is,
it don't matter.
No, but I'm saying the dude, Jason Whitlock, needs to be called out by the proper person at the right time for what he's doing in terms of demoralizing and putting the black culture, putting us out there like that, right? Stephen A. Smith.
Who's the proper person?
I mean, Dr. Fletcher just said it eloquently. I would listen to him more than Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is a jackass.
Here's why I will say Stephen A. was qualified. It was just how he went about it. It was the challenge that I had. Stephen A. Smith, like we were talking about in previous segments, sometimes you have to call a spade. And the person with the loudest microphone sometimes needs to be the one to do it, even if they're not the most ideal person to do it. Because
you don't
now
think it was more personal though? You don't think that was more personal?
It was part personal, but there was some journalistic integrity that was called out as well, right? And he is qualified to do that, along with Jamel Hill and many of the other black journalists that spoke out about his journalistic integrity. Okay. Now the rock throwing between Stephen A. and Whitlock, that was part of it. That was just part of it. But the reason why I do believe, and I'll disagree, Danny, a bit with his qualifications to do it. One, he is a journalist, so he is qualified to call out another journalist. But even going on the racial level of it all, when someone is such a danger with the platform that he has and how he's using it, I think you need someone with a equal or larger platform. I ain't got it. You can get the most articulate amongst us. If nobody's there or if not enough people, now put me on First Take and we can talk about it, and I will be his surrogate, all right, and talk for Stephen A. But when you have a dangerous person who's going on these networks that are watched by hundreds of thousands, millions of people, right? We can't turn our eye to that reach. You need somebody who has a equal or larger reach to even just bring awareness to it. No matter how clumsily they may stumble through articulating it, bring some awareness to how dangerous this brother is. That was my gripe on how he did it. I think it could have been more effective to the masses who are the outside looking in, saying it's two prominent guys with a personal beef making it public. Well, I think he could have parsed the issue a little bit more eloquently, if you will.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Bring those people in.
Yeah, because he's been around for all this time doing the same thing, and ain't nobody said nothing, and this guy's been making money. He's been doing this for over 20 years.
Yeah, but it sounds like what you're saying, Danny, is that we shouldn't have even done it this time. Because
no, I'm just saying. I'm just saying you can't mix sports with social stuff. That's all I'm saying. Talking about some production stuff and talking about who played Winston-Salem, the school where he played is low-level basketball. He wasn't a good player. Who cares? Who cares what he put in his book? Half these people are liars anyway. Like, I don't want to hear that. All I'm saying, but I do want to hear if Jason Whitlock is using his platform to demoralize and demean black people, somebody needs to call that out. That's respected. A lot of people are not going to listen to Stephen. That's my first time listening to Stephen A. Smith more than 30 minutes since he's been on air. Just because I wanted to hear because I was coming on this show. Other than that, I don't watch First Take. I'm not a fan of his. It's just hard to listen to a big mouth, skinny dude from Philly with his big mouth can't play. I ain't got time for that. I'm from LA.
Yeah, look at the ripple effects. But look at the ripple effects of it now. Everybody has splinter conversations, so we can enlighten. Because of that, he was just the first shot across the bow. Now we're all talking about how Jason Whitlock is.
I understand. I understand.
And Stephen A. Smith has, I believe, close to 500,000 subscribers to his YouTube channel.
But who are they? Trump got followers too, and look at that. We don't know who his subscribers are. Just because you're a subscriber don't mean that you for the cause of the.
What are you saying, dude? We're saying that because he has a big platform, it's right that he brought up this issue. And now we're all talking about it. That's the whole point.
No, I agree, but I'm just saying I don't know everybody that follows Stephen A. Smith is black. I can't. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that Stephen A.'s impact. People talking about that on Crenshaw Boulevard. We live in LA. It's a totally different demographic than anywhere in the country. It's gang capital of the country. These people are different. We wire different here in LA. We ain't on him like that. I'm just telling you. The sports people are, but just everyday people ain't talking about this clown.
Man,
both of them are clowns to me. I'm just telling you.
You can't put Stephen A. Smith and Jason Whitlock in the same box.
No, you can't. No, you can't. I'm not gonna do that. But I'm just saying. You know, I agree with both of you guys. I'm just saying the right person should call his brother out for what he's saying. Now, Stephen A. Smith brought attention to him, and I ain't gonna lie. I'm starting to do more research on some of the stuff Jason Whitlock's been doing because I don't really rock with him either.
Because of Stephen A. Smith. Exactly.
I get it. No, I get it. No, I get that. But I'm just saying we need more brothers that have some type of qualification with some cachet to call this Jason Whitlock character off, right? That's all I'm saying.
Let's all call them out. And as Andy said, we are talking about Stephen A. Smith in LA.
The same thing. We're talking about the same thing, basically. Get this clown off the air. Or whatever platform he got. Whitlock is terrible. Let's trade him for Sammy Sosa.
We don't want Sammy Sosa either.
We don't want Sammy Sosa either.
We don't.
Black delegation.
Black delegation vetoes that.
Step aside. We'll continue the conversation when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Martin Luther King Jr. Day recognitions begin in South Carolina this weekend. An MLK community breakfast was held at Furman University this morning. A Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast celebration is happening for the 13th year in New York, and MLK Legacy Breakfast is planned at the Unity Park Welcome Center. Then on Saturday, the YMCA Greater Spartanburg is holding the MLK Walk as one event. Another event honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is planned in Greenville on Sunday. The Martin Luther King celebration at Coffee Underground is happening at 7:30 p.m. Michael Jackson's upcoming biopic is getting an official release date. The film titled Michael is set to debut globally on April 18th of 2025. Jackson's nephew Jafar Jackson will portray the late pop star in the project. Graham King, who worked on the Oscar-winning biopic Bohemian Rhapsody, is also producing Michael. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Santa Clarita on the 14 north after Golden Valley Road, so you got a singular crash. The carpool left lane is blocked with a deadlocked traffic from the 5 freeway. Stall clear in Santa Fe Springs, 605 south of Slauson Avenue. Got traffic still slow from the 60. Compton, another stall clear on the 91 east at Alameda Street. But you're still going to see some delays if you're coming from the 110 freeway. Encino on the 101 south of Haskell Avenue. Got a crash in the center divider. CHP is running a break to clear, and traffic slow from Canoga Avenue.
Wendy's Breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles lets you choose your perfect duo from your fave 4, like a sausage or egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, or medium hot coffee. Limited time only during breakfast hours. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in the combo. Single item at regular price.
We've all felt the impact of rising food prices. For families in poverty, they're facing malnutrition and even death. You can feed a family for a month with your $50 donation to Compassion International. Just text the word radio to 97646.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The number of black head coaches in the NFL went up from 3 to 4 Friday morning. The New England Patriots promoted linebackers coach Gerard Mayo to replace Bill Belichick. At 37, Mayo is the NFL's youngest head coach. Mayo is also the first black head coach in the 65-year history of the Patriots franchise. 7 teams are still looking for a head coach for next season. The Chargers, the Raiders, Atlanta, Carolina, Seattle, Tennessee, and Washington. The other 3 NFL black head coaches have their teams in the playoffs this weekend. Saturday afternoon, Houston's DeMeco Ryan will lead his team at home against Cleveland. Mike Tomlin and his Pittsburgh Steelers are in Buffalo Sunday morning. Todd Bowles and his Tampa Bay Bucks are at home Monday night against Philadelphia. Good luck to all 3. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580. Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of this light of ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement. A dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This light of ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This light of ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007 they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA CAN believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. It's the Friday group chat, hour number 2, with Dr. Sean Fletcher and Danny Griffin. I was hoping that maybe we'd be done talking about Stephen A. Smith and Jason Whitlock after the first half hour, but apparently we're not, because we talked the whole first segment about it, and we've been talking about it the whole break. There's some gems that I wish y'all could have heard too. But Andy, our trusty engineer, Andy, said that Stephen A. Smith saw them Shannon Sharp numbers and Cat Williams numbers and thought this was a perfect opportunity to go in on Whitlock. And maybe that might be true. You know, you gotta capitalize on the moment sometimes. But that's I like that though, because I want as many people to see what he said about Jason Whitlock as possible. And that's the main thing. And so we're Dr. Fletcher and I are trying to bring Danny around here, and I feel like we're getting somewhere, but I don't know if we're all the way there yet. But any closing thoughts on this, guys? And there's other stuff we all want to talk about, and we have limited time. So, Danny, I'll throw it back to you. I mean, we're just saying that I hear you. We both hear you, I think, about Black people not going after each other in public. But when you have a Black person who is doing the exact opposite, he's going after Black people all the time, and he's using that for clout amongst racist white people. That has to be called out. If you got a Black dude in the KKK, you're not going to sit there and be like, oh well, we're Black, he's Black, so I can't say anything about him. I mean, you gotta call people out sometimes, and so that's my main point. And I'll give you I'll give you the mic here, Danny, just to say any closing thoughts on the subject.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. It's just that I just see this guy as a sportscaster on a popular show, trying to get into social aspects, and see nowadays we need to call out people who speaking on social aspects who don't live that life. They don't help out in that area, and I commend him from coming up from grassroots, being a beat writer at the newspaper, going to the HBCU, giving back, writing checks. He gives back to the universities, and he consistently talks about HBCUs and helping them, and he uses his platform. And then he's great as a journalist, and he does a really good job on TV. But I'm just coming from a different perspective because he's talking about his background in basketball and all this bragging and all this other stuff. And you know, I'm looking for street cred, and you're trying to work. It's just, but if you just calling out Whitlock for being who he is, I'm rocking with that. Anybody that has a platform with a mic and some followers that needs to say what Jason Whitlock is doing because it's that demeaning, go ahead. Okay, I'll change my stance on that. That's fine. That's fine. But also remember, we have to repair. We have to at some point protect each other, love each other, and have some type of collective and deal with this brother behind closed doors. If he doesn't want to deal with us behind closed doors, then we got to put him out there. But somebody needs to get this brother and touch this brother and see what we can do, because he's a detriment and he's not helping us, and election time is coming. We don't need this, man, because there's other conservatives that's not doing this. Larry Elder ain't doing this right now. Larry Elder like a volcano, right?
Larry Elder is.
No, I'm saying, but Larry Elder, nobody don't care. He ain't got the cachet as Jason Whitlock and Stephen A. I don't listen to Larry Elder. He went to my high school.
Larry Elder is talking about every negative thing any black person has ever done, and he has a very large listenership.
But does he have the following that these other guys got?
He's probably bigger than Jason Whitlock. I mean, it's probably close, but it doesn't matter though. It don't matter. But anyway, Dr. Fletcher, your closing thoughts on the subject.
I get the complexity of it, and I respect the complexity of the situation, of what it brings up. All right, some of the more sensitive issues that it brings up, you know, within the Black community and how we communicate with one another behind closed doors, but obviously when you get to a mass communication level, you know, where everyone's watching. I don't necessarily subscribe to what some folks have been saying recently of, I don't like when black folks fight in front of white folks. No, I don't really get with all of that. But at the same time, as we've said before, not everybody's with you, no matter how much you want them to be. And those people who are with you, yes, when they've shown that they're with you, but they may have lost their way, perhaps, yes, you do try to, with kid gloves, delicately bring them back into the fold. But when someone repeatedly punches me in my face, I'm not going to continue to while you're punching me in my face, bring you back into the fold. You show me you're not with me, so I'm going to treat you as such. That's why in this situation with Stephen A. Smith and others subsequently going after Jason Whitlock's character, and these are all based off of what he has done, documented attacks, vicious attacks, uncalled for attacks on the Black community, and sensitive, heartbreaking cases like Tyree Nichols, and calling Megan Rapinoe, who's not Black, but of the LGBTQ community, another marginalized, disenfranchised community, calling her the Andrew Tate of the LGBTQ community. People like him has to be stopped. And again, while I don't condone violence or anything like that, let me qualify what I mean by stopped. Someone with a larger or equally as big platform has to step up and call it out to where others can now have awareness that this man is a danger, and now we could do something about it.
Yep, and just a last point, I believe that why this took so long is because Stephen A. Smith was trying to handle him with kid gloves, was trying to handle it internally. And it came to a point where he's like, I can't do this with you no more. I'm gonna call this out and I'm gonna be done with it. So anyway, great discussion, fellas. That was I think we covered a lot and we got somewhere with that one. So let's before we step aside from one, I want to talk about this story in your neck of the woods, Dr. Fletcher, is Keith Lee saying he had to leave the Bay Area early because there weren't enough good restaurants there to eat from, and also mainly because he got sick because he's very allergic to seafood or shellfish. I forget if it's shellfish or a certain type of seafood. Properly clean the cooking surface they were using that they were cooking on with the seafood before they made his meal. And so your thoughts on the Keith Lee situation, since you are a Bay Area native, at least now. I know you're from the STL.
Yeah, I'm a Bay Area resident. I'm a St. Louis native.
Yeah, exactly.
Bay Area resident now.
There you go. That's what I meant. But go ahead.
This situation is sad, but you know what? My hope is that there's a benefit that comes out of it. All right. I'm not a huge follower of Keith Lee, but he has a huge following. And there was a lot of hype of him coming to this area, as it is typically when he comes to any area and reviews, typically Black cuisine or Black establishments and restaurants and their cuisine, right? The Bay Area has a significant social crisis with the unhoused community and impoverished community. That is a fact. And it has been discussed at length within the Bay Area, but also outside of the Bay Area, to where a lot of attention has come to the Bay Area in terms of whether certain events should even come here because of it and the danger that ensues. Now, when I read what Keith Lee said, he said, quote, "I don't believe the Bay is for tourists right now." To an extent, I agree with what he meant, the sentiment behind that. He talked about how staggering it was to see people living in tents. He wasn't talking about food because it was bigger than food. He said it was staggering. He had never seen such a homelessness and unhoused crisis. All right. And he's been all across the country. That is facts as it relates to the Bay Area. All right. You can be blinded by the lights of the Bay Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge all you want to. There is a crisis going on in the Bay Area. All right. That was one of the main reasons why he said he cut it short. And then he moved into talking about how great the people were, but also then we get caught up with what he does, which is critiquing food. And he said that really he didn't have any constructive criticism. It was underwhelming, the places that he went to. And then the Bay Area started clamoring, saying you went to some raggedy places that none of us would have really recommended you go to. So we got caught up and distracted into what he does when he was really, the first thing he said was really calling attention to the bigger issue that we really need to be talking about from the Bay Area to Los Angeles is what he really called out, talking about how this is not a place for tourists right now because there is a crisis going on with poverty and homelessness and housing and the unhoused. That's what I respected about what he said. And he diminished the food part of it because he said, no, there's a bigger issue going on in the Bay Area that you all really need to spend some time on. And he even said, I hope that this city's doing something about that. He didn't say anything about food. So I respected the bigger narrative he tried to put out there. And I hope we don't get distracted by a food critic known in social media leaving the Bay Area and we get caught up about some food.
We do got to step aside for a quick moment, but when we come forward, we are going to be talking about a North Carolina activist who says NWA basically was bad for Black people and they shouldn't receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. And we'll see if we got time to fit in some college football news and Nick Saban leading Alabama right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? I'm Danelle Riley, FAMU alumni and creator of the HBCU Culture Shop. I am so proud of my new partnership with Black Beyond Measure and Target. They help me elevate community pride with my HBCU designs and continue to support Black creators and entrepreneurs with Target HBCU challenges, scholarship programs, and campus collaborations. Let's come together this homecoming season and beyond. Shop my brand and discover other Black-owned products at target.com/blackbeyondmeasure.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions because we've got your Black. Listen up. If you're one of the more than 100,000 California tenants who were rejected or delayed when applying for COVID rental assistance, you've got a second chance. Under the terms of a new settlement, California's Housing and Community Development Department agreed to audit its past denials. The program ended in March 2022, but the advocacy groups Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, Policy Link, and Strategic Actions for a Just Economy sued the department. According to the coalition's analysis of state data, the department rejected nearly 30% of all applicants. Under the settlement, the department agreed to clear all renters in the pipeline within 6 months. The settlement applies to anyone who sought assistance from the state's Housing is Key program before April 1st, 2022, whose applications is pending or was denied after June 6, 2022. Tenants who have questions about the status of their application can call the hotline at 833-430-2122. That's 833-430-2122. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
We're back on the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. It is the Friday group chat with Danny Griffin and Dr. Sean Fletcher, friends of the program. All right, fellas, we got a few minutes left here. I want to talk about this. I want to get your thoughts on this. It was recently announced that hip hop group NWA will receive the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award next month. And a North Carolina activist named Paul Scott says, what exactly is NWA's lifetime achievement? Sadistic misogyny, sending a generation of young Black men to early graves, or making it socially acceptable for white America to use the N-word without getting a beat down? That's what he said. What are your thoughts? Danny, go ahead.
I didn't hear that part. You asked me what are my thoughts on it?
Danny Griffin.
Yeah. No, I didn't hear that part. So,
all right, Sean, Dr. Fletcher, you go ahead. Yes, sir. What are your thoughts?
No, I think Danny was about to chime in. I think we had a little delay. I think Danny.
Let me repeat. Let me repeat what I said. Maybe. Okay. So let me just. I think my connection might have been a little bit bad. So let me just repeat what I said. So, a Time Grammy Achievement Award, which it was recently announced that they will receive, because he said, quote, what exactly is NWA's lifetime achievement? Sadistic misogyny, sending a generation of young Black men to early graves, or making it socially acceptable for white America to use the N-word without getting a beat down. What are your thoughts? Should NWA receive a lifetime achievement award from the Grammys?
Well, I mean, come on now. I mean, people can't separate artistry from, the old school stuff with the printer advisory messages I mean, NWA, even before gangster rap really came into play and people saw them in another light, they were being attacked by a lot of politicians that was using that as leverage for campaigning, for votes or what have you. And at this point, here we go again. I mean, from an artist's perspective, they've earned the right to be there. You look at album sales, you look at influence. Now, if we're going to do that, are we going to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or Grammys or what have you, and go back and look at these artists and say, who did they influence negatively, or what communities? I mean, just about the drug culture. Think about the old school acid rock and rock and roll and the hippie culture. I mean, do we go backwards and go after some of those guys and say you shouldn't be admitted in that because you had a whole bunch of teenagers around the world on acid and drugs? No, we're not going to do that. So why should we do it here? That's the thing. When you have this permanent skin tone, a lot of people come for you in all these different areas, right? And it's kind of tricky because NWA was gangster rap, and some of the content was from a negative perspective to some people's perspective, but it was what they really experienced, and it's what a lot of us in LA experience in South LA and Compton, Watts, and so have you. So it's like a gray area to me, but this person needs to stop.
Yeah, this is a black man that's saying this too. But your thoughts, Dr. Fletcher?
It's difficult. I grew up listening to NWA, and I will say this: I'm not going to flat out discount everything this brother is saying. I'm really not. All right. Just as I'm always an advocate for not oversimplifying issues and parsing them to figure out what's truth and what's opinion and how we can reconcile them. There's levels to it. NWA was not Public Enemy. All right. NWA was not KRS-One. NWA was not, trying to be this sort of, artist and group of artists who was trying to bring some sort of common-esque higher consciousness. But I will say that much of their music did play somewhat of a radical role in shifting, certainly policing, all right? While we can go to some of the misogynistic music that they did put out, that's why I said, you don't discount everything this brother said. I will not go in as far as he said that they ushered in an era of terror. No, I will not go with that. I won't go as far as to align with some of the assertions that he's taking. He's taking some leaps, in my opinion, in terms of what NWA did to the culture. But I will say that a Lifetime Achievement Award, I would like to, I'm going to be listening to that presentation and some of what's leading up to why they're giving them that award, because there have been some socially conscious artists who have also gotten that award. Are you putting them in that same group, or are you parsing out what they brought to resistance? If it's F the Police, yeah, go for it. I may disagree that deserves a lifetime achievement as opposed to an award, but if it's F the Police, go for it, because I can see what that added to the resistance dialogue and the resistance movement. But if you're saying look at their catalog, no, I'm not gonna say that part of it. But I want to understand, what are you giving them this award for? Impact to music? Yeah, go for it. Music at large? Go for it. But what this brother is talking about out in what is it, North Carolina, he's now bringing it to a social impact conversation. If the Grammys are saying, we're just giving you a Lifetime Achievement Award because Cube, Dre, Ren, all of you guys did great work overall. Well, sure. There's been lesser groups that have gotten Lifetime Achievement Awards, but the socially conscious part of the conversation, that's a more nuanced conversation if we're talking about their lasting impact. That's different than some popularized entity giving an award, all right?
Yeah, and I would say, I think they should get the award. I think they should get it. I think I do hear what this dude is saying, and he said that there would be no drill music if not for NWA. I don't know if I would go that far.
No,
I think they did have an element of bringing up a lot of people's lived experience and bringing it to the mainstream. And they weren't perfect, but I'm always of the school of you can be a fan of someone and disagree with some of the things they say and do. And that's why I never get all these fanboys and fangirls who just, they like someone, so they defend everything they do and say, you don't have to do that. So I think they should get the award. I think their impact on rap, on Black culture, is undeniable. And they have a place, I think, in the Grammy Hall of Fame. And I think they deserve that. And as you said, Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, Ice Cube. I mean, them dudes were in a group together, and that group is iconic, whether you like it or not. We're out of time here. We didn't get a chance to talk about Alabama getting another great coach right after they lost another one, but we'll talk about it. We'll get back on this. It's not going anywhere. So thanks for hanging out with us here on the group chat. Thank you, Dr. Sean Fletcher. Thank you, Danny Griffin. Really appreciate y'all's time and y'all's perspective.
Right on.
Great conversation. And looking forward to the next one. Have a great weekend. The Raw Report is coming up next. Michelle Duffy is in for Robin today. So enjoy. Have a great weekend. I'm Avi Bernard, and I am gone.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The Neon Theater is hosting a special screening and discussion next Monday for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Guests can attend